Hey everybody, this is Jack Allwell with another money episode. Today we are discussing time value money. Now this is a topic that is heavily taught on the actuarial exams as well as many other financial exam processes. And I'd like to show you an example of a problem you might encounter and then maybe layer in some mortality to show you what it would be like more as an insurance product. So let's get to it. So this is a set of cash flows, and let's say this is like end of year one, end of year two, end of year three, and with certainty we know we are getting 100, 100, and 100. So if we want to put that in today's dollars at time zero, that's kind of, well, when you think of time value money, you're thinking of cash flows in the future and how that compares to today. So we want to, and if you were to invest at 6%, well, you would need less than $100 now to get $100 in year one. You need even less to get $100 in year two. But we want to basically bring these cash flows back, all three of these cash flows. So we can come up with a discount rate where we are doing 1 divided by 1 plus this discount rate to time. So this is showing, so this is basically saying if we just wanted $1 in a year invested at 6%, we would need about 94.3 cents to get $1. But what if we wanted $1 in 2 years? What would we have to invest today? Well, we'd only need about 89 cents for that dollar in 2 years, and we need even less in 3 years. So now let's look at, so if we just take the sum, or sorry, the product of this cash flow and the discount rate, you get these amounts, and then the sum of that is the present value of all three. So the present value of cash flows equals the sum of these guys. Okay. So basically that's saying the equivalent of, if we put in 267, we would be able to, that's the equivalent of these three cash flows discounted at 6%. So that's what you would need. And the way you could look at it also is, you could look at it as, so 267 times, so we're going 1 plus this rate. So we go roll it forward with interest, and then we chop off this cash flow. I'll just put 100. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. It should be exactly 0. So we roll this 267 forward, chop off 100, roll it forward, chop off 100, roll it forward, chop off 100. It's exactly 0. So that's another way to think about it. But now, let's say, now let's look at if you added some mortality. So let's pretend this $100 was really a death benefit. And so we have this discount rate, and let's say we have a person who has some probability distribution of them dying each year. So let's say it's a pretty, we'll say a relatively unhealthy person. So let's say probability of death in given year. So let's say it's, so if they're alive in that, well, they are alive at time 0, but in that first year, the probability of death is, let's say, 20%, which is really high. So this is probably like an old person. Let's say it's 0.35 in year 3. Okay, so we would want, and basically let's say they had a 3-year term product. So we're saying if they were to die in these 3 years, we'd have to pay out $100, and we'll say it's at the end of the year. So if they die in this first year, we'll pay $100 at the end. If they die in the second year, we'll pay $100. And if they die here, we will also pay $100. But it's not 3 different sets of $100. There's no certainty here. We're adding probability. So the probability of death. So we want the product of 100. So we're saying there's 20% chance we'll pay $100 at the end of the year, and that's why we're discounting back to the present. So that's, and we also, oh, you know what? We also want to know the probability they at least make it to that year. So here's 1, but this one is now 1 minus that probability. So there's an 80% chance they make it to the second year. And given they made it, then this is conditional on them making it to that second year. So, and then this is, so let's see, they make it past the first year times 1 minus, they make it past that second year of death. We really want to take the product of all 4 of those. Okay, so now the sum is only about 54, but basically we're saying now this is not including profit and all these other provisions that an insurance company would add, but just for the mechanics of the death benefit payment and this assumption, basically you can think of it as the amount someone's willing to pay is about $18 to insure themselves of this $100 at the end of year 1. And it goes down a little bit each year, but they're going to pay the sum of these about 54.30 cents to insure themselves for the next 3 years. I mean, that's a lot. It's kind of unrealistic. So you can see if we go here, let's make these even smaller. Let's say 0.00. Let's say it's a really healthy person. So maybe. So you can see why term insurance is so cheap for a healthy person in a short period. Basically, you're paying 50 cents to insure for $100 because the probability of you dying is so low. So if you like this type of question, you might like studying for the actuarial exams. And if you didn't check out the probability YouTube lesson, I suggest you take a look at that and see if you like that example as well. And I will see you later.